Hello everyone, welcome to today's news charter. Let's begin with a prelims practice question. Take a look at this question. It's a simple question from current affairs. So I hope you should have studied about all these things already. Consider the following statements regarding Paris principles in the context of human rights. So recently, the United Nations has told that we will review the functioning of human rights organizations in the countries. So this is why this particular question has been asked, and even for your examination, it is very important. Read the statements. They were adopted in 1993. 1993 is the year when all conventions regarding human rights have happened, and the National Human Rights Commission of India was also passed in this particular year only. So this is correct. By United Nations General Assembly is correct. It provides the international benchmarks for accreditation of national human rights commissions. Countries have national human rights commission, so there should be a procedure to accredit these national human rights commission to see whether they are functioning properly or not, whether they are functioning in the best way or not. So this is the function of the nation, the accreditation. This function of accreditation is with the United Nations General Assembly. So these two statements, both of them are correct. Let's start with the first topic of the day: Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. So this topic is very important for this year. Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. What exactly it is? Earlier, it was called as International Coordinating Committee. It was called as International Coordinating Committee (ICC) of Human Rights Institutions. All the human rights institution will coordinate at a particular place is called as International Coordinating Committee. This got renamed into Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. So this particular point is important. Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institution, what they do, they promote the role of national human rights institutions worldwide. So this is a place, the Global Alliance is the alliance of all the national human rights institutions which will come together, which will coordinate with the United Nations, which will coordinate with the other UN bodies, other international bodies and everything. So it undertakes accreditation of national human rights institution in according to Paris Principle. So earlier during the when we were looking at the MCQ, I told that there is a global mechanism to accredit the national human rights commissions, whether they are functioning properly or not. So based on this, it is the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institution which do the accreditation. Right. So we have three different classification here. A, voting member; B, observer member; and C, non-members. Three different classifications. First classification is A, which is known as voting members, people who can vote. Who are these members? Members who are full-time, fully compliant with the Paris Principle. Paris Principles are related to human rights, and it was passed in 1993. So those members who are completely complying with the Paris Principle, they are voting member. They can come and they can vote on any particular country or any particular issue. So that is the first classification. Second classification, B, they are observer members. They are not compliant with Paris Principle and they do not have any voting position, but they are still observers. Third are non-members who are not complying with Paris Principle and they have done some things which are against human rights also. So they are considered as class C. So three different types are there. So why this particular topic is in news? Because in 2023, the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions told that India's National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, has violated certain principles. What principles? They are telling that you are appointing ex-IPS officers, ex-administrators as members of NHRC. So because of this, there is a certain violation. A National Human Rights Commission should function without any governmental interference. But in India, too much of governmental interference is there, is what Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institution says. Now, whenever anything comes related to any particular statutory body or constitutional body, what is your work? Your work is to get to know about that particular body. So we will go with National Human Rights Commission. What is it and what are the major things you need to know? As I told, it was established in 1993. We have passed a statute known as Protection of Human Rights Act. Protection of Human Rights Act in 1993 was passed, and based on this, we created National Human Rights Commission. So, is it a constitutional body or a statutory body? It is absolutely a statutory body. Who are the members? Absolutely, there will be a chairman. Apart from this, five full-time members will be there, and seven deemed members will be there. In these deemed members, who comes? Chairman of the National Commission of Children, National Women's Commission, this Minority Commission, SC Commission, ST Commission, all these things. So you need to study about it in your polity book. Go through it very well. This particular body, National Human Rights Commission, for this year is important. Chairman is generally the ex or former Chief Justice of India or a Supreme Court judge. So this point is also important. Who is appointing them? The appointment is by the president, and it is not done discretionally by the president. It is based on recommendation of a 6-member committee. So appointment procedure is very good in India because it is the president who is appointing them, and it is based on not just the recommendation of the cabinet or the council of ministers. It is based on 6-member committee. Who are the members here? Prime Minister, Speaker of Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Leader of Opposition in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and one more, that is Union Home Minister. This point again is very important. You can easily get a question in prelims. And the time period for them is 3 years or until they reach the age of 70. 3 years or until they reach the age of 70. Now, the problem with India's Human Rights Commission, why exactly we tell that India's Human Rights Commission is facing a lot of problems. When we look at the powers and functions, we will get to know. Power is that they can be considered as civil court when they are undergoing certain judicial proceedings. One thing, they can ask anyone to appear, they can ask anyone to provide any kind of evidences or documents. They can ask members from the central or state government to assist them. They can ask officers to assist them. For investigation, they can ask certain people to do the investigation. But the major problem here is this: they cannot take any case which has happened more than 1 year ago. So this is a major problem. Whatever happens before a year, you cannot even investigate it, which is a huge downfall for National Human Rights Commission. And all the recommendations are, all the suggestions are recommendatory in nature. They are not strictly implemented. So these are all the major problems of National Human Rights Commission. Anticyclone is very important for this year because of the extreme amount of heat wave that is happening in India. When too much of heat wave happens, there is certain reason. One major reason is anticyclone formation. Before the formation of monsoon in the June, before that, we have certain anticyclonic circulation over the Indian subcontinent, especially in the northern part of India. So what exactly is anticyclone? In a cyclone, what happens? Air will, if this is the ground level, let's say this is the ground level, air will come from all the direction. It will converge at this particular place and it will move up, right? It will move up and then it will diverge in all the directions, throwing away clouds so that rainfall happens. There is cyclone. In anticyclone, everything happens in the opposite way. Because of high density of wind, the wind will come down, and when it hits the ground, it will diverge. So heat, high amount of heat will happen here. High pressure zone will be there. There will be no pressure zone here. There will be high pressure zone. So the circulation will happen in this direction in case of anticyclone. high pressure will be there in the middle, because of which wind will be diverted in all the direction. In case of a cyclone, it will be completely different. Here you can see it is clockwise. The circulation is clockwise. In case of cyclone, it is anti-clockwise. So these are all the major differences you need to know. Now, why anticyclone happens in India? What is the reason? Very simple. It is the jet waves. It looks very complicated, but in reality, it is very simple. So in the first statement, I have just provided what exactly is anticyclone, which we have already discussed, right? So we can move to the second point. Anticyclone happens over North Indian Ocean, Indian Ocean's northern part, and the northern part of Indian subcontinent. So what exactly happens here? If let's say this is the peninsular part of India, easterly jet stream comes in the southern part, and westerlies happen around the northern part, right? When does this happen? In the pre-monsoon season. In pre-monsoon season, easterly jet stream from the eastern side comes and hit the southern corridor, southern border of India, and westerly jet stream happen over the northern part around 30 degree. At 10 degree, you get eastern jet stream. At 30 degree, you get the westerlies. So during monsoon, what happens is this westerlies will shift to the north side, right? So that is not required for us at present. At present, what we need is these two things are happening. So at some point, what will happen is this will create a anticyclonic circulation. So this one, the westerlies are coming from the west, easterlies are coming from the east, and then in the topmost atmosphere, this kind of circulation will happen. When this kind of circulation, clockwise circulation happens, it will result in anticyclone. High amount of wind pressure will be there. There will not be low pressure at any point. If this, once this westerlies shift to the north of Himalayas, then there will be low pressure in this region. Right, but until the shift happens, there will be high pressure. So this is the general phenomenon behind the anticyclone factors. So in the recent times, this has been increasing. The reason being El Nino. When El Nino happens, high amount of temperature happens. Already there is anticyclones, and when El Nino is also there, it will result in further increase in anticyclone phenomenon, because of which high amount of heat waves happen. As I told, when anticyclone happens, what happens is wind will come from the top to the bottom and it will diverge to all the direction. So hot wind will diverge to all the direction, which will result in high amount of heat waves. So this is the phenomenon behind anticyclones and heat waves. Important point for mains examination, India has been talking about increasing its exports, but in reality, what is happening is India's import from China has been increasing, especially in industrial products. So recently, India has crossed $100 billion import, just import. Our export is very less to China, whereas our import is extremely high. $100 billion of import happens from China to India, whereas India's export to China, if you see, it is just $16 billion. We are exporting $16 billion and we are importing $100 billion. So there is around $84 billion of deficit. So this happens in industrial sector majorly. So this shows that we are not yet there to claim that our Make in India is a success. It is a success in certain fields, but not in all the fields. IDMR 249 steel. IDMR 249 steel was in news because we are talking about the Air Force carrier, naval carriers of India, INS Vikramaditya, INS Vikrant, etc. But those details are not required for prelims. This point is very important. What is DMR 249A? It is a low carbon, micro alloyed, high strength, low alloy steel. So what exactly it is? To make a steel, you need to add a little bit of carbon to iron so that it becomes steel. high amount of ductility will happen, high amount of strength will also be gained. Compressive strength will be very high. Here, in case of IDMR steel, it is used in defense sector. It is a defense grade steel. Its strength will remain the same even at very less temperature. Even at very less, even at sub-zero temperature, the toughness and strength will remain the same. So for this, what is the secret? The secret is very simple. Amount of carbon used is very less. It is microalloyed. Microalloyed means very less amount of impurities is added, less amount of carbon is added, because of which strength will be very high. So it is a low alloy steel. High strength attained through low alloy steel. So high strength low alloy steel is very important. Why is it important? Because it can be stable at sub-zero temperature also. So these points should be noted and should be remembered by the candidates if you are attending the prelims examination. These are all the points which were very important from the newspaper from today's point of view. So go through the newspaper very well and subscribe and do like so that you will get the video suggestions every day. All the best. Study well.